Ever feel like success is this big, elusive thing?
Yeah.
Like everyone else seems to have it figured out except you,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to careers.
Yeah.
Well, today's deep dive is all about cracking that code.
Mm-hmm.
We're diving into the book Career Achievement to uncover some surprising truths about finding work you love and getting paid for it.
Yes. And one of the first things this book really digs into is that whole idea of success. It kind of challenges us to think beyond just climbing that corporate ladder or having that big paycheck.
Right.
It encourages you to define what a fulfilling life and a fulfilling career looks like to you.
Exactly. Like the book starts with this story about Alicia, a student who's totally lost when it comes to career goals.
Oh, I remember Alicia.
All she can think is, I just want to make more money. And I think we've all been there. But the book uses her story to point out how many of us default to that without actually asking what would make me happy.
It's true. It's like the book is holding up a mirror and asking, what do you really value? Is it money? Okay, sure, that's important.
Yeah.
But is it time with family, creative freedom, feeling challenged, making a difference? Like the book really walks you through figuring out those core values because they should be the foundation of your career choices.
So true. So once you've got those values sorted, how do you turn them into, a career?
Right.
The book talks a lot about goal setting.
Yeah.
And get this, it cites research saying you're 50% more likely to achieve a goal if you write it down.
Wow.
That's huge.
That is big.
Yeah.
What's interesting is the book explains that it's not just about making a to-do list. Writing down your goals makes them feel more real, more achievable. It's like you're sending a powerful message to your brain and to yourself that you're serious about making these things happen.
And it's not just about what you're aiming for, but how you think about it. This is where it gets really cool.
Okay.
The book talks about positive self-talk and how our thoughts directly impact our actions.
Yeah.
Have you ever got yourself thinking, I'll never get that promotion, or I'm not good enough for this job?
Oh, all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So the book would call that negative goal setting. You're essentially telling your brain to focus on roadblocks instead of possibilities. There's this great quote from the book that really stuck with me. That which you resist persists. Imagine trying to run a race while dragging a giant weight behind you. That's what resisting our goals can feel like. Okay, that's such a powerful image.
It is.
So instead of focusing on what we don't want, the book encourages us to shift our thinking. Instead of, I can't, it's how can I?
Exactly.
It's about believing in yourself and the power of your own potential.
It is. And the book doesn't just leave you hanging with these big picture ideas. It gets really specific about taking action. And one of the most inspiring examples is the story of this woman, Alyssa.
So Alyssa starts out as this amazing caricature artist, but she's stuck in this totally soul-crushing job.
Yeah.
Talk about creativity killer.
It really is. And that's where the book's advice about transferable skills comes in. Alyssa's story is a perfect example of how the skills you learn in one area, even if it's not your, field, can be applied to something totally different.
It is such a confidence booster, right? Because we've all got skills.
Yeah.
Like the book lists communication, teamwork, problem solving.
Right.
Those are valuable in any job. But how do you go from, say, being a pro at managing a chaotic restaurant floor to landing your dream design job? That's where Alyssa's story really takes off.
Yeah, the book talks about her making this bold decision, like she goes to a caricature conference.
Wow.
She basically invested in her passion, and that's where she met Steven Silver, a Disney artist who opened her eyes to the business side of being creative.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And that totally changed the game for her. She realized she could combine her artistic talent with, like, entrepreneurial skills.
Totally.
The book talks about how she ends up creating multiple income streams, coloring books, online courses, the whole deal.
And that's the key takeaway here. Alyssa's story isn't just about finding a job. It's about creating a career that's both fulfilling and financially sustainable.
Okay.
She found a way to make her passion her paycheck.
I love that.
And the book gives you a roadmap for doing the same thing.
Okay, so Alyssa's story is incredibly inspiring. But I know what you might be thinking. How do I actually find those opportunities? Especially with the job market constantly changing.
Yeah.
Well, the book dives into that too, right?
Absolutely. And it brings up this concept called frictional unemployment.
Right.
It sounds kind of scary, but it's actually a good thing to job seekers.
Okay.
Basically, it refers to the natural flow of people moving between jobs, careers, even cities.
So there are always openings, even if they're not advertised yet.
Exactly.
That's a game changer.
Yeah. Yes. And that's why the book stresses the importance of proactive networking.
Okay.
Don't just wait for job postings. Reach out to people in your field. Let them know you're looking and build relationships before you even need something specific.
Because you never know who might have a lead on a position that hasn't even been posted yet.
Exactly.
And speaking of the job market, what about those fields that are exploding right now? The book mentioned some really interesting ones.
Right. One that stood out to me was wind turbine technician.
Whoa,
It's projected to grow insanely fast in the coming years. And the best part is you don't necessarily need a traditional 4-year degree to get started.
that's huge.
It is.
The book actually has a whole section on how, while a degree is valuable, it's not the only path to a great career.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you, whether that's trade schools, online courses, or specialized certifications.
And that ties into the book's emphasis on adaptability and continuous learning.
Yes.
The job market is constantly shifting, especially with automation and AI.
Right.
The more you embrace learning new things, the better prepared you'll be for whatever comes next.
It's like the book is saying, stay curious, stay open to new possibilities, and never stop learning.
Exactly. And on that note, the book dives into a few other really fascinating topics, like the rise of the gig economy with platforms like Uber and Upwork.
Okay, so we've talked about figuring out what you want, spotting those opportunities, but what about actually landing the job?
Right.
I'm thinking interviews, salary negotiations, all the stuff that can make or break your dream career.
Yeah, you're right. Those are make or break moments, and the book doesn't shy away from the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
Take interviews, for example. It breaks down all the different types. Phone screens, panel interviews, even those dreaded dinner interviews
Oh, yeah.
where you're trying to eat gracefully while answering tough questions.
It's so hard.
Yeah.
The book gives you actual strategies for each one, right?
It does, yeah.
I love that it reminds you to treat phone interviews just as seriously as in-person ones.
Right,
Like, yeah, they can't see if you're still in your PJs,
right.
but getting dressed up can actually put you in a more professional mindset.
That's all about setting yourself up for success, right?
Exactly.
And one thing that really stuck with me is the book's advice for panel interviews.
Okay.
You know, when you're facing a whole group of people,
Oh, it's so intimidating.
it can feel so intimidating.
Yes.
And the book actually suggests making eye contact with each person on the panel,
Oh, wow.
not just the one who asked the question.
Okay.
It shows you're engaged with everyone in the room. It's like you're having a conversation with the whole team, not just one person.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
And speaking of engagement, I loved the book's emphasis on asking thoughtful questions at the end of any interview.
Yes,
It shows you're curious and that you've done your research.
for sure.
It even gives you, like, a bunch of questions to have up your sleeve.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's a typical day like in this role? Or what are some of the biggest challenges facing this team?
Oh, I like that.
Stuff that shows you're really thinking about what it would be like to actually work there.
It's about demonstrating that you're not just looking for any job, you're looking for the right job.
Totally.
And that brings us to the ever so delicate topic of salary negotiation.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is where a lot of people, myself included, get tripped up.
Oh, totally. It feels so awkward to talk about money, but the book makes a really good point. You deserve to be paid what you're worth.
Exactly. And it gives you a game plan for approaching that conversation strategically.
Okay.
Like knowing your worth means doing your research.
Yeah.
What are other people in similar roles making? Sites like Glassdoor and Salary.com can be super helpful for that.
So helpful. And the book says, don't be afraid to negotiate.
Right.
When the employer gives you an offer, you don't have to just say yes on the spot. Take some time to think it over, and if it's not quite what you had in mind, don't be afraid to counter.
The key is to be confident but respectful.
Right.
Highlight your skills, your experience, and the value you bring to the table.
For sure.
It's not about demanding a certain number. It's about having an open conversation and finding a solution that works for both of you.
So much good advice packed into this book. And it doesn't stop at getting hired. It also talks about how to thrive once you're in the job, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things it emphasizes is the importance of understanding corporate culture.
Okay.
It's like every company has its own personality.
Oh, sure.
And being able to read the room, or the office in this case, is crucial.
That makes total sense. Like a tech startup is going to have a totally different vibe than, say, a law firm.
Exactly. And it's not just about fitting in. It's about understanding the values, the communication styles, even like the unspoken rules of the workplace. So true.
Right.
Are there any tips on how to do that?
Yeah, the book gives some good ones,
Okay.
like paying attention to how people dress, how they interact with each other, even the kind of language they use in emails.
It's all about being observant.
Yeah, observant and adaptable.
Right.
And it's not about losing yourself or trying to be someone you're not. It's about finding a way to be authentically you
Right.
while also respecting the norms of the organization.
It's like finding that sweet spot where you can be yourself and thrive in your career. Right.
Exactly. And speaking of thriving, the book also talks about the importance of continuous learning and growth.
Right.
It's not enough to just get the job. You have to keep developing your skills and staying ahead of the curve.
Especially in today's world where everything is changing so fast. So how do you do that? Well, the book encourages you to seek out opportunities for professional development, whether that's taking courses, attending conferences, or even just reading industry publications.
It's about investing in yourself and your future.
It really is.
And it's not just about climbing the corporate ladder.
Right.
It's about expanding your knowledge, challenging yourself, and becoming the best version of you that you can be. This deep dive has been such an eye-opener. We've covered so much ground, from defining what success really means to navigating the job market, acing interviews, and building a fulfilling career.
It's been a journey. And if there's one thing I hope listeners take away from this deep dive, it's that you have the power to create the career of your dreams. It
Yes.
takes work, it takes dedication, and it takes a willingness to step outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
But it's absolutely possible.
So well said. If this deep dive sparked some ideas or got you thinking about your own career path, we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, your aha moments, or even your burning career questions with us on social media or by emailing the show.
And don't forget to check out the show notes for a link to Career Achievement if you want to dive even deeper into these ideas.
Yes.
It's a book that can truly change your perspective on work, success, and what's possible for your future.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.